God bless you. Welcome to Late Talk with Luci. If you're new to my page, welcome tonight. My name is Luci Serrano, and I am a Christian mental health therapist for 30 years now. So I'm excited for tonight's topic. As you log in, those that are not new, just let me know that you're here. And say hi. God bless you. I'm going to go ahead here and invite a few people. So again, let me know you're watching. Let me see. God bless. God bless. I hope everybody, well, today's Wednesday. Yes. So what I call, what we all call hump day. So you're in the middle of the week. So let me know, how your week is going. I haven't been on for a while. I usually like to do 2 videos a month, but as many have seen, as I posted, I have been, preparing for my daughter's wedding. My oldest daughter, Megan, got married last weekend, and the wedding was a pure success. It was everything a mother would want to see and feel when her daughter gets married to a gentleman, a true gentleman of integrity who loves your child the way you have loved her and the way God loves her. So that's always a beautiful thing. So as you log in, again, just say hi, let me know you're watching, where you're from, anything like that. We're almost halfway through with the summer, and it feels like the summer just began. The summer just began, and we're always halfway through. So I hope you're enjoying your summer, creating some memories, not just for social media, but creating memories for the heart, for your family, for your children, if you have children, to leave. Because, we work so hard for so many material things, and we don't realize that the things that really matter, the things that we really leave behind for the people that love us, is memories. So be intentional about creating memories for those you love this summer and every day. But before I get into the topic of the video, I also want people to be intentional about praying for the state of families in America. Families are under attack. They are so distracted from what's important, and all you have to do is watch the news today and it'll break your heart, because so many young people are lost, so many teenagers killing, so many teenagers doing horrible things, so many parents in the news lately, so many parents killing their children, boyfriends killing their girlfriends' children, vice versa. There's just so much evil and in the world right now, and trusting the wrong people. And we're going to talk a little bit about trust today, but we need to pray for discernment, and we need to be an example in our homes of what love is, what true love is. And if you don't know what true love is, it's important you take the time to learn it. And let it truly manifest in your lives. So as people continue to log in, this topic is a little heavy. It's not for the faint at heart, and it's going to require you to really think. And I would invite you to take notes, because after the video, you can go and process some of these notes, or even watch the video again. I want you to be intentional and ask God, what does he want you to learn tonight? Because this video is for everyone. This is a topic that hits everyone. But a lot of people are in denial. So you would love to say it belongs to everyone else except you. But hello, Lynn. Hello, Sabrina. Hello, Myra. So we're going to talk about living on the ledge, the lie of insecurity. And insecurity is often seen or defined to be an outside thing. You know, when I often ask my clients, what are your insecurities? And people immediately tend to go to physical insecurities. Well, I don't like my body, and I don't like my hair, and I don't like, I'm insecure about my feet, or they go to those physical things. And that can be a manifestation of insecurities, but it's not insecurities. So, we're going to talk about the lie of insecurity and what it really means to live on the ledge in your life. And so what is the lie of insecurity? The lie is, I will never be safe. I will never be safe. And the true meaning of insecurity is in. So it's inside. In means inside. I lack security. So inside of you, you lack security, which is also said as inside of me, I lack the ability to feel safe. The ability to feel safe. And you will know if you're that person, because people that live on the edge trust no one and feel safe with no one. They sleep with one eye open. They're ready to run at the slightest hint of danger or slightest hint of attack. They're runners. And people who live on the edge, on the ledge, you think of a ledge of a window, the ledge of a cliff. There's no rest. There's no place to be vulnerable where they can shift from simply survival to simply to enjoy life and live it. There's so many people who live on survival mode. Surviving and living are two different things. Two very different things. And sadly, so many people are on survival mode, just like a machine, just doing, have a checklist, always busy, that they're not present in their own lives. They're not present in their own decisions. They're not present in the lives of other people because they are constantly moving, constantly doing, because they're always on survival mode. And the true definition of insecurity is being open and unprotected. Being open and unprotected, which equals to being vulnerable. Being vulnerable. That is so scary for people, to be vulnerable. You'll be so surprised. People are even afraid to be vulnerable. Kids are afraid to be vulnerable with their parents. Husbands are afraid to be vulnerable with their wives. Wives are afraid to be vulnerable with their husbands. People can have long-term friendships and never be vulnerable, never show their real selves, never share their fears, never share, because it's way harder than it sounds. Everyone wants it, but very few people achieve it. So to be insecure is to live with a feeling of being unprotected, unsafe, powerless, and simply distracted. And like never before, we are living in a distracted society. We are so living in a distracted society. Everything distracts us from what's really important. And the insecure live in a wall of self-protection. So they build a wall of self-protection. When you're insecure, you trust no one, so you're constantly trying to protect yourself. So you live in a wall of self-protection, and so this wall doesn't allow you to get close to anyone or trust anyone. Have you ever been in a relationship with anyone? It could be a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a cousin, a friend, a partner. Have you ever been in a relationship where you can feel the walls? I feel that with clients all the time. I can feel their walls up. It's very, very difficult to have relationships with people who have walls built around them. They built up this fortress. And so you can't get close to them, and you can feel that they don't trust anyone. They don't trust anyone. So they live on the ledge, watching for the next attack. Everything seems like a threat. Everything seems like a threat. You can't even really communicate with someone who lives on the ledge, because even no matter how nice you try to say something, no matter how, they will feel like everything you say or do is an attack, because they're living on the ledge. They're living on the ledge. Insecure people are often controlling people, trying to take control in any way, possibly because they don't feel safe. When controlling people are living under the influence of insecurity. So whenever you see someone who's very controlling, that's a very insecure person. That's a person who's very fearful. So they're controlled by the fear of being hurt. They don't want to be hurt. They don't want to experience being abandoned. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to feel powerless. And they definitely don't like the feeling that things are out of their control. So that's why they're so controlling. They're so controlling because they're afraid. They're afraid. Because people who live on the ledge constantly feel unsafe. Constantly. I'm going to tell you a few signs of people who live. Some of the symptoms of people who live on the ledge. And fear, anxiety, overly responsible behavior, perfectionism. They are aggressive. They can be aggressive. They can be angry. They can be emotionally distant because of the walls that they build around them. But most insecure people feel very alone. They feel unprotected. They feel like no one has their back. And they will always, always, always have relationship struggles. Relationships will always feel difficult to them. Always. Recently, I saw a friend, and I had not seen that friend in a long time, and it was so good to see that friend. But I knew there was a reason behind why I had not seen that friend in a long time. And when I spoke to that friend, and I said, you know, this and this and that. And they said, you know, wanting to blame the reasons I hadn't seen them on someone else. And they said, relationships are difficult. Relationships are challenging. Yes, they are. But they're even more difficult and more challenging with a controlling person, with someone who lives on the ledge because they're so afraid of being unprotected. They're so afraid of being abandoned. They're so afraid of not knowing. Like, they don't like the unpredictable. They need to know. So that's why they're so controlling. So the greatest fear of insecurity is that of being alone. Insecure people feel alone, but they don't want to be alone. It's a difference. And so there is an empty aloneness that accompanies insecurity, because we believe that our life is in our own hands, and that can be terrifying. Like, when I meet people who don't believe in God, that perplexes me. And I'm like, so that means your whole life is in your own hands? That's scary, because we're so limited. We are so limited. There's only so much we can do. Like, we have a limit to what we can do. And then it's our trust in God that takes us to exceed that limit. But we are so limited, but yet we deceive and fool ourselves. Well, if I control everything and everyone, then I have the power. No, you don't. You don't have power. You have a facade. You have a facade. You have make-believe. You have make-believe. So most insecurities are rooted in being raised in some kind of unsafe environment in which you had no control. You had no control as a kid. And so the unsafe environment could have been you had an alcoholic parent, or a drug addicted parent. You had an abusive parent. You had an emotionally unavailable parent. You had a drug addicted sibling in the house. You had poverty, loss of income, constantly moving from one place to the next, lots of different schools, domestic violence. Kids who witness domestic violence are also victims. They're victims of domestic violence and never feel safe. Your unsafe environment could have been you experienced molestation or any kind of abuse or neglect, death of close family members, divorce of parents, abandonment of a parent. All those situations can create that root of insecurity in children who just grow up to be insecure adults. So remember, if you have any questions, you can always ask me. Stay with me though. Stay with me because this is good stuff. These situations, all the situations I just said, that create unsafe environment for children, these situations causes you to live outside the scary walls of protection. And the insecure believe that no one is watching out for them, because if they lived with a parent who couldn't control their emotions or raised in anger, they believe that no one is protecting me. So they feel the need to control everything, even the way others see them. So that's why a lot of times they become perfectionism, because then I can control that. I can control how others see me, even though I couldn't control what anyone else did to me or what my home life was like. But I can control and put this facade of being perfect and like I have it all together. And sometimes they do. They keep striving for all these goals, because they're striving for a feeling of safety. So the insecure people must feel like they're in control, because if not, then they feel out of control. And feeling out of control is a reminder of times when they were not protected, times when they didn't feel safe. And remember that safety is a need, guys. I teach people about the need to be safe so much because the need for safety is just as important as your need for water. Remember that. We need safety like we need water. Without water, we can't survive. So without feeling safe, we can't survive. That's why so many people have mental breakdowns. They're drug addicted, alcohol addicted. They addicted to all these types of things because their brain cannot process the fact that they don't feel safe, because we need safety. So the insecure, the person who needs safety but is not secure in it, builds walls. Remember I said to protect them so they can feel safe at least within those walls. So they build these walls because in their mind, they believe, well, if I build these walls, then I could protect myself in here. And then I could be in control behind these walls. No one's going to hurt me. No one's going to abandon me. No one's going to use me. No one's going to mistreat me. We believe that. And those are lies. So we keep building these walls, keeping people out. And those same people are the same people we want in, but we are pushing them away. We're pushing them away because of our fears. If they only knew what I struggle with. Recently, for my daughter's wedding, we had some friends come from New York, and these friends are very well-known friends, and they go to all these big events, and they're very popular. And they know tons of people and have tons of friends. And they sat in my living room, and they said, we have a lot of couple friends, but none that we can be this vulnerable with, none that we can have these deep conversations with. And that's reality. Reality is that most people have on the surface relationships. Hi, how you doing? Everything good? Okay, that's good. How the kids? How this? No one goes really deep, because going deep requires vulnerability, and no one likes to be vulnerable because they don't feel safe. So they put the image like they got it together, even if the only one they're really lying to is themselves. So even if they feel lonely, even if they're angry because they feel lonely, they still rather be behind the walls. Because they don't know how to be safe and put the walls down. They don't know how to do that. So we're safe. People who don't feel safe will often find comfort in things like food, sex, drugs, alcohol, shopping, careers, their education, new homes or cars, or always staying busy. They will overcommit to the point of exhaustion just to stay busy, so they don't have to feel those real feelings of fear and unsafety. So they build these walls of addiction, often disassociating. Disassociating means where you feel like you left your body, and it's a coping skill that most people who experience trauma have. So you feel like you leave your body and you're almost watching yourself in your life, but you're not in your life. And so they build these walls and even engage in compulsive behaviors. And so when you live with an insecure person, you know very well, and this may, hit a lot of people, because I remember this in my life. When you live with an insecure person, no one likes to admit they're insecure. So they don't come to you and say, listen, I'm an insecure person. Because even saying that sounds weak, or it makes them vulnerable. So, but when you're living with an insecure person, and it doesn't have to be blatant, like trying to control where you are, who you're talking to, what you're wearing. That's not the only kind of control. There's the subtle control, the subtle manipulation, the subtle abuses. Because when you live with an insecure person, you know very well that the slightest spark can set off that person to have unreasonable responses. Because everyone needs safety. Every person watching this, you need safety. And you need to measure, do I feel safe in my relationships, in my home, in my church, in my workplace, in my own skin? Do I feel safe? Because safety, people, when they hear safety, they think physical safety. But that's not the only safety there is. We have 4 types of safety. All of us, not just me, all of us. We need emotional safety, a safe place for your heart. That's what emotional safety is. We need physical safety, which is a roof over your head, somewhere your body feels safe. We need mental safety, and we need spiritual safety. Is God going to protect me? That's why so many people don't trust God, because they never had an adult or a person in their life they can trust. So to trust this person up above, can I really trust that he has my back? What happens if he doesn't? Or what if his will is different and I'm not protected? So they can't even trust God. And I always give you scripture, right? So Proverbs 25:28. Proverbs 25:28 says, the insecure person has no control over his own spirit. I'm going to read that again. Proverbs 25:28 says, the insecure person has no control over his own spirit. None. Because what's controlling him is fear. What's controlling him is doubt. What's controlling him is lack of faith. What is controlling him is the walls. What is controlling him is the addiction. What is controlling him is the need to control. So you have no control over your spirit. Yes, Sabrina asks, how do you change? Because I don't believe people are ever happy feeling that way. They're not. They're not happy because, again, you need safety. So without it, you put a mask because you won't be vulnerable. You live behind walls. So with a mask and behind walls, what does happiness look like? You can achieve that behind that. So I will tell you, Sabrina, When the insecure person feels unprotected or they are triggered, they will often put up a wall of anger that tells all the people around them, don't mess with me. Don't mess with me. You ever see those people that have a short fuse and that's what it is. Somebody tapped that feeling of insecurity in them and they go up right away. It's like a spark and they will tell you, don't mess with me. And you'll either face their anxiety. It's usually anger, but behind that anger is fear and anxiety. That behavior is a signal that boundaries are needed. That boundaries are needed to feel safe. To feel safe. And boundaries are your limits. So people on the ledge can also respond to the lack of safety by being impulsive. So a lot of people who live on the edge are impulsive. They react to the world instead of thinking it through and respond sensibly. They react. People on the ledge feel they must always protect themselves. They can never lose an argument. They must be right at all costs. Is that you who's watching? Because for them, a discussion is not just a normal discussion. They see that as a verbal assault. You want to get me. You want to get me. You're out to hurt me. I can't trust you. And so they cannot just have a normal discussion. They must win. They must win. They must be right because that's what makes them feel in control, the person on the ledge. Marilyn said, this is giving me palpitations. Yeah, it's okay. Because remember the word says that the truth shall set you free. You can never be set free if you don't even know what the truth is in your own life. If you're not aware of your own coping skills, if you're not aware of your own pain, if you're not even aware of how you're living, or if you're just merely surviving. Because so many times if survival is all you know, you convince yourself that this is just the way I am. This is my personality, take it or leave it. There's nothing wrong with me. Everybody else has to change. There's nothing wrong with me. Because that's how you've been surviving. This is how you've been surviving. People on the ledge often feel powerless. No one protected them as children, so often they remain children in grown-up bodies. Because somewhere in their childhood, in order to survive not feeling safe, they became disconnected at a time of some sort of childhood trauma. And so they stopped growing emotionally. Their body kept growing, but they stopped growing emotionally. So they can often grow up to become bullies. When we think of bullies, we always think of school. We think that those are the only bullies there are. Kids being bullies to other kids. Listen, kids learn how to be bullies by their parents. 100%. Because there are bullies in your home. There are bullies in your family. There's bullies in your marriage. There's bullies everywhere. So you have to be aware that a lot of people who live on the ledge are often bullies. They're bossing everyone else around in the world to hide their own feelings of powerlessness. They won't budge. They won't change. They won't want to grow because then that will make me powerless. You're telling me to change something? No, this has protected me. That's the lie you believe, that the way you are has protected you this long. No, it hasn't. You know, I remember one time I had a conversation with someone in my family and I told them that they needed therapy. And they said, what do I need therapy for? I'm good. And I said, yeah, you're good, but you have affected everyone around you. So sometimes you think you're good because you're safe behind that wall and it works for you because you have all the power in your family, in your marriage, in your relationships. You have all the power. So you feel I'm good, but everyone else around you is suffering. So that means you're not good. That doesn't mean you're good. That means you're blind. So lastly, people on the ledge are usually there by themselves because they don't trust anyone to be there for them. Those are the type of people. And listen, there was a time early in my marriage that I was married to someone who lived on the ledge for a good part of my marriage. And he didn't trust anyone to be there. So what he would do is set the bar high. So I always felt like I had to be this amazing, perfect wife. And then I would get here to the standard that he set, and then it wasn't good enough. He set it over here again. So then I'm over there working to be this, get on that ledge, get on the ledge with him, and he'd set the standard up higher. And it wasn't because he was trying to be mean. It was because the lie that he told himself is no one can be trusted. I'm never going to trust nobody. So you create an environment around you so that you keep fulfilling that lie in your life. So if I keep having these crazy expectations of people, if I keep finding everything wrong with people, then I can support my lie. I can support my lie that nobody's there for me. I can support it. But sometimes no one's there for you because you're impossible to be there for. Your expectations are not realistic. They're not very realistic. Sometimes you want people to come into your life to heal the damage from all the people that were there before you. That's not their job. That's not their job. The people who come into your life, the new people, are not there to repair what the old people did. Or they're not there to fill a void that other people left in your life. So people on the ledge don't trust no one, and they have no plans to trust anyone because they feel secure in the lie. So they often want someone there, but they can't take the risk because they are constantly on the lookout for approaching threats. So you could be the most safest person. And I know because it's happened to me even as a therapist. I've had clients that are waiting for me to mess up. Waiting. Or get mad at me for enforcing my boundaries. Listen, if I'm teaching you about boundaries, guess who's going to enforce their own? Mine. I have boundaries too. But then they get mad at me because I enforce my boundaries. But that's just an excuse because they were looking for that from the beginning because they were never going to let anyone on the ledge with them. Sometimes they go to therapy just to tell other people, no, I went to therapy, but no, I didn't like the therapist. But it's not that they didn't like the therapist. It's that they were never going to trust the therapist. They were never going to trust the therapist enough. Most people who live on the ledge of insecurity are in denial. Most of them. They have a victim mindset. Everyone's out to get me. Everyone is out to get me. And so they blame others in order to keep themselves behind that wall. Look, I knew it. I knew she wasn't planning to be there for me. I knew that. I knew it. Yes, you knew it because you have trained your mind to believe the lie. You've trained your mind that way. And it probably started when you were a kid. And the root is the same belief. It's that lie that I am not safe. I am not safe. If you keep telling yourself that, then guess what? You're going to create a life that's going to support the lie. And that's not what God wants for you. So I'm going to tell you these three truths. Because remember, we have to combat the lie of insecurity. So I'm going to tell you these three truths. The first truth is that God knows where we are. And he wants to kindly and patiently woo you off the ledge. You don't trust anyone, not even him. But he knows where you are. He's always known you're on the ledge. But he's just waiting because he wants to approach you on the ledge. He wants to kindly and patiently woo you off the ledge. But God uses resources. We want God to show up himself. Well, if God really loved me, he would do this and this and this. We try to bargain with God. We try to bargain with God. Well, only if you do this, God. No. His word tells us what he's going to do. And one of the things he's going to do is love you. And one of the things he's going to do again is love you. And one thing he's going to do again is be kind to you. And one thing he's going to do to you is be patient with you. And one thing he's going to do is not be easily angered by you or frustrated by you. But he does want you to get off the ledge. Second truth, you can't deal with insecurity without addressing your fears. Because the Bible says that perfect love casts out fears. And you want to live from that place because God pours perfect love into you. But in order for you to feel it, that fear has to be cast out. It has to be cast out. And the way you cast out fear is by facing your fears. It's by facing your fears. The third truth you must face, remember I told you there's 3 truths, is that the lack of safety has its roots. Remember, the roots is what you can't see. Has its root issues in trauma. And no matter what anyone tells you, and I will prove it to you if you don't believe, trauma affects your nervous system. So it becomes something physical. And the reason why there's so many people or so many believers or so many Christians that don't heal is because they keep thinking that trauma is a spiritual problem. And it's not. Trauma is a problem that affects your nervous system. And your nervous system has to heal. And it can heal. And there are things we can do to heal our nervous system. We have to remember that pain, and this is Sabrina, I want you to write this down. We have to remember that pain. And we all have experienced pain. We all have unhealed pain living inside of us. Every single one of us, even those who have done their work. I've been healing since I was 20.